Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. We did, what did I do? I think like 3-hour broiler chickens yesterday. So if you ever were like, I want more of the Beamish, well, go park yourself in that one yesterday. Man, I just went on and on and on and on. So my apologies to any regular viewers. Maybe do a short version here today. If you want to know what rant du jour, go check out yesterday's broiler chickens. Today is Monday. It is the Ides of March. We're finally here. And actually, I can even feel in myself, and I've been saying a lot of these public broadcasts and stuff, that, man, I really was put through the ringer here over the past week or two. And unfortunately, with the Ides of March, my wife unfortunately passed away through this, so she succumbed to the Ides. So unfortunately, I'll live with that for the rest of my life. But God rest your soul, JoJo, and PMA for the win. Trying to do your work here with all of these other humans, trying to make that positive difference you asked me to do. So we'll see how it goes. I'll tell you, one big sort of leap forward TRI's had of late is bringing this new website sort of into fruition. And it's a lot of fun. I'll tell you, it's a lot of fun being able to go through this now and get a pretty clear idea of what the market's feeling, what the market's seeing, who's leading, who's lagging, and, what to expect going forward. I think actually through the daily brief here, I sort of talked people through. I think I did talk about this in the public show yesterday. I can't remember. But, crypto here, good example, top 30. I actually like crypto as a leading indicator in the sort of the risk-on space. And you can see we actually got very nosebleedy overbought here. And we appear on the bullish percentage to be sort of consolidating a bit here. We haven't broken down, right? If we, next time I put this on, if you see us breaking down through moving averages on the bullish percentage, then that probably means we've got troubles ahead. Also, too, these are pretty darn wide. You notice, when they're wide like that, can we get little pullbacks? And then ultimately, do we get the check? This comes zipping up. If this starts rolling over and failing, then we should expect fast to start moving down. And, of course, you get your check, and we have to go back through a bear slide. So, not really anything new to do here. And if anything, hopefully you're in long positions off of the bottom, and we're coming up into price objectives, coming up into targets, and you're forcing yourself to make money from trading. That's the whole point of this exercise. So, to that end, I think if we look at the broader market, that kind of conversation about risk on, risk off, the risk on sure is looking awfully nosebleedy. Risk off is actually starting to catch a little bit of a bid here. And I wouldn't be surprised. I put sort of notices out. The bonds are still heading lower here. And now that the U.S. Federal Reserve Board has that big whack of new U.S. government bonds to leverage lend against, don't be surprised if we actually see one of these days this bond market is awfully weak, and Mr. Powell said, well, I don't expect interest rates to go up too much. So don't be surprised if you find out in a week or two. I think it's probably after Friday. Friday is a big options expiry. It's a big quadruple witching event. It's also a celestial event, sort of energy release event date. And then, of course, we had the Ides of March here today. So don't be surprised that that all sort of develops following, maybe in the next couple weeks kind of idea. And if anything, maybe our breadth indicator is sort of portending a little bit that we're probably getting near sort of the latter part of this rally window. I mean, it's been a nice rally off the lows. Don't get me wrong. And some of these altcoins have gone absolutely bananas here. But maybe in a week or so, we actually find that this is rolling over and we start acting like this, and we got to go through a consolidation period for a while. It would be actually quite normal, quite par for the course. You can see how this swings back and forth. And we just went through a big upswing. So, having said that, still selling into rallies right now. Got off a really cool double this morning on a Italian oil stock of all things. Try and figure the logic out on that. Brian, I thought you hated oil. Well, actually, I bought this oil stock back last commodity cycle, and I was just waiting for this goddamn thing to perform, and it's finally performed, and away we go. So if they keep taking this stock higher, and keep in mind, those people who follow sector rotation, into March 31st, we should expect energy and the commodities to be relatively strong anyway. But this was kind of a fun one this morning for me. And how ironic, it's actually down on the day now. Where I was kind of playing chicken with these market makers. And keep in mind, half of this game of getting fills at your levels is you kind of have to go to war with the market makers. And you kind of have to play a psychological game with them and try and outsmart them. Good luck. Most of the time I can, but sometimes they get the better of me. Actually, this morning, I didn't have a market maker fuck me over. I had my actual Canadian crappy bank brokerage house fuck a trade up. And, the sad part about it, we were kind of joking. There's no professional accountability in this world at all. So we were kind of joking that the bank goes, oh, yeah, we fucked up, so what are you going to do about it? Nothing you can do. So go fuck yourself, Mr. Customer. Wow, what a wonderful world we live in. But this was a funny one. You can see all my foggy levels. I wouldn't be surprised if they do push this thing up into these foggy levels. Oh, and speaking of which, just a reiteration of yesterday's rant about foggies. And I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. Tagged it, got my fill. Ding, 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 ding. Fucking killer trade. And look at what happened following that, just straight down. It's literally half. It hit half the price of that high there today. Half. It got cut 50%. My fill, and then straight drop. How do you explain that? It's crazy. Anyway, so back to our funny little story about AVN. This oil stock, I bought in way back here on the rollback and just waiting. Okay, they halted the company, restructured it again, and then finally, okay, now we're actually going to rally the damn thing. On the initial pop, and keep in mind, actually, I did pretty darn well on this, even just selling at $1. That's well over a double, so I even got a nice positive return on my money plus the rest of free stock. And then, boom, I got another double level. And you can see I could have sold anywhere above $2 and felt fine about sort of doubles. Had all these foggy levels. Boom, 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 boom. I still think they want to take the market up here, but it's fun to just mess around with these market makers. Because quite literally this morning, they opened up the stock. And you can see they were trying to work it up higher. They actually gapped it open this morning, and I had my order working, a retail order, so they see it on the order books right at 235. But the interesting thing is what I wanted to get a fill on the gap, right? You've heard me squawking about gaps. Gaps like to be filled. So what I was really waiting for was the market to come in and fill in this huge gap, right? And the bottom of that gap was 225. As I said, anything above $2 and I was laughing. So I threw my retail order out because I knew that they were going to sort of try and play their games with me to get me to balk. So I threw my retail order, I think, middle of last week and said, look, if you want to pop this thing into foggies, great, I'll take a fill there. But I could see even first thing this morning, they did not want to fill me. It was painful. They gapped the market higher, and then they started to try and backfill the order book, bid 15, 16, 17. Literally watch them. They're trying to walk the market up. And then they got the market up. Remember, my retail order is sitting here at 235, and I don't know whether they really were expecting me to do anything. The order had been working for a while. So they were working the market up. They were working 221, 222, 223, 224. And as soon as I saw them bid 225, I just CFO'd my order and smacked them over the head. And you can see their reaction. So I hit the bid on this candle here, and they just puked out. Which is so funny. You can totally tell these guys, they were pissed off that they gave me that fill, because I don't think they wanted to give me that fill. So I felt very vindicated this morning. It was really a lot of fun. I love messing with market makers and just playing with their heads. And you can just see right after I got my fill at 225, the floor just fell out of the stock. So anyway, here it is, 211, 215. They'll probably just park it here for like the next week. Ah, you bastard! They're so pissed off at me. Anyway, and like I said, I mean, sometimes, you know, you hit these little penny stocks like that silly iMining, and they can't even handle the reaction. The market just goes into free fall, because I sold a whack of stock up there. And they're probably pissed off at me to no end there as well. So, hey, score one for the good guys. One market actually that's caught my attention here. Look at that bad boy. And this is so funny, right? Because I'm making references about orgies in crypto and stuff like that. But let's see if you can fill in what I'm thinking here. I said to Kevin before I got the video started, wow, look at the size of that hole. But I didn't make reference to the Daily Brief because that was just a little too lowbrow. But would anybody say that reference at an orgy? I don't know. You tell me. So, just like the other one, you can see exactly where I'm going to be selling some more stock, right? And they're just grinding it up into my foggy level. So that's the kind of market it is. There's some specialty stories. Actually, this little guy's probably perking up. Oh, yeah, that looks nice. So he's off to the races as well. Actually, 1735. I got to get ready to sell some more stock. That's good to see. But, you know, and actually interesting, you know, crypto space, not really, kind of, actually it's not really a crypto name, but, you know, these little ones, they're kind of just stumbling along. And big crypto, I mean, it's not really breaking out to new highs. You can see the ETFs are actually a bit softer on the day. Generally an up day out of the big, you know, sort of speculative names. And interesting to see Novograt's actually down on the day. And little ones, man, this Helix, check this out. I couldn't step in on this thing, but you want to see a crazy-ass foggy level? Check this out. At some point, my hunch is it'll probably have to do a bit of backfilling before this event. But believe it or not, at some point down the road, this thing's telling me you probably should expect $2.50, $4. And really, that's not even really asking too much. You know, when I did up crypto charts in the past, I'd always do something like that and say, where is the reload short zone? Well, I got a funny feeling it's up in here somewhere. So if we go RLZ, boom, there it is. Look, 877 and 88.6. My hunch is probably got a date up in that area sometime down the road. So, you know, that's probably a really good analogy of sort of the venture cap space within crypto. Is there room for this market to move up? You bet. Tons of room. Problem, of course, is does the market ever move in a straight line? And we have to, you know, acknowledge the fact that, man, that is one hell of a straight line move up with lots and lots of gaps along the way. So my hunch is this is ebb and flow, ebb and flow. And, of course, couldn't even think about coming in on the buy side there. So just got to leave them alone. This thing works its way back down. Actually, a good example of that was very popular fund manager. No idea why she became so popular, but Kathy Woods, I think her name is. Anyway, she was touting a couple names, and I sort of scolded people in the public for chasing. And this is exact same as that other image. You know, we work our way back down the bottom end of the range, the POC, filling gaps, market structure, probably like 88.6s, blah, blah, blah. I'll buy here, but there's no way I'm spending money here. So, that's the kind of market it is. You can see, mixed bag, some up, some down. There are fun little stories. That guy's catching a bit of a bid. Nothing really new there, though. Yeah. I don't know whether I really need to go into any detail here on any specific ideas. Like Kevin here, he's got a killer. Look at that stock. Look at all those damn W's, you son of a bitch. You know, he's gonna make a fortune on this thing. So, what a good example of everything that we teach. And the worst part about it is the public, this thing will pop up into here, and then the public's gonna get all interested. You know, that's kind of like those crypto stocks right now. You can't buy them now. You gotta find them when they're looking like this. Nice find, Kevin. Yeah, and I think you said you're long this thing, right? I don't know if he feels like talking today or not. He says, yeah! So he typed his answer. So anyway, I mean, I looked at this and I go, you son of a bitch! I'm totally left behind! You know, if I wanted to buy and I wanted to participate, I don't know where the hell the high is here, but really, I'd probably want to try and sneak my way in down here, eh? So there's nothing I can do. And really, I wouldn't recommend anybody in the public buy there. But you can see there's a cheeky little gap right at Mountain Man. You know, wicks and tails like to be eaten. So at some point down the road, maybe if I'm lucky, I can get into this thing. But can't touch it right now. But nice pick, Kevin. Way to go. Good job. All right. Let's get back to what I'm supposed to be talking about with you guys here. Kevin was telling me there's some guy who charges like $75 a month or something for a subscription. He does a 15-minute video, no chat room, no, really not much else. We're having a hard time justifying charging $50 a month, and we just hours and hours and hours of Brian ranting and signaling systems and the whole thing. So I think, you know, you guys get good value, especially here on YouTube, right? It's free. I mean, what the hell? We don't charge you anything for this. And if you can learn these goddamn W's, man, you do much better than the Kathy Woods of the world. You'd be buying the stocks when you're supposed to be buying them. And, you know, the sad part about for her is she's a fund manager. So it's not like she can buy and sell her own fund. She's just doing her fund, and her fund is going to put in M's and W's. And you could even trade circles around Kathy if you wanted to. But anyway, that's here nor there. So first and foremost, probably the most important asset we need to follow here in the market, which of course drives everybody crazy, but world hegemony, all this kind of stuff. What the hell is the U.S. dollar index doing? Have this big honking W working. Do have a bit of a reversal. It's like a candle body reversal signal there. So, you know, probably the initial push up here is done for the time being. You know, we had the options expiry, Ides of March, celestial event. I was worried. I didn't know how the hell this pullback was going to look. It's not really done yet. Probably have to get through Friday into next week, into April kind of idea to really get a feel for what the hell this is going to look like going forward. But I do like the idea that we have actually turned a corner here. And if you did want to participate in this trade, you can see there's a nice cheeky gap here that I'd be hunting if we did get any serious pullback against these lows. Maybe midsummer kind of idea. You know, maybe the crypto market's back pressing up against old highs, that kind of thing. Maybe that's when this happens. It kind of looks to me like they've actually dodged a big bullet because you don't know how violent these things are going to be. As corrections go, so far, that's actually pretty tame. I suppose in the short term, and actually it's interesting because Bitcoin just did this, we could probably say, you know, first stop target 38.2s. How does that get resolved? Yeah, well, what a surprise. it's remarkable how cliche this shit is. So, you know, we should always initially expect a 38.2 hit. Bang! Done. And now what? We're trying to carve out actually a bit of a fractal bottom here. If we go through this high, then actually the market's back on the bull wave. And really, you know, as I said there a moment ago, what I was worried about is just straight line down. So that's good. That didn't happen. What I would say now is, you know, maybe we're going to bot our way out here. 3 higher lows and away we go. Trend continuation higher. Or, you know, and really it's predicated on us losing these lows. I'm not quite sure what the fundamental driver would be to have that happen. But if we do lose those lows, there's the gap. There's 78.6. There's 88.6. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. There's the trend line. Blah 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 blah. So right now we're just sort of asking, okay, well, is this just a first stop pullback? Collins pump chaser zone kind of idea. All the pump chasers are going to pile in here and hold up the market, and we turn back up, or do we have to work our way all the way back down the bottom end of the range? And that's sort of the jury's kind of out right now as far as I'm concerned. Probably as we see this develop, we're going to see things like risk on, probably carve out. If this thing actually is going to work its way higher, I wouldn't be surprised if risk on actually has to come off, stocks come down a bit. Oil, I think, is way overpriced. I mean, thank you, strong oil price. You gave me another double on an oil stock I have. Okay, fine. I guess I'll take the money. But I don't like oil. So, go figure. And I wonder what this price would have been had there been no QE. Would this be like, 10, 15, 20 bucks with all the QEs? The equivalent is $65. That wouldn't surprise me. No real trade for me here. If anything, if we do go and actually double top here, you can see up, down, up. If we break down, close below here, I would actually feel perfectly fine thinking about buying a put option, looking for some sort of 50% retracement. You can see I've already had this conversation with you guys. Where the hell's that number? It's this one. So I don't know what the high is. This is on like what, I don't even know what contract this is. Probably like April or something. But 50% is at 42 bucks. Oh my goodness. Is there like some sort of like mini crash or something developing here? This has got trouble written all over it. And what's interesting is, basically the entire public is convinced that we're in hyper runaway inflation. So that would be the one thing that would end that conversation very quickly, is if the market goes and tops out and craps out here. So we're well beyond ABCDs. Probably we have momentum divergences developing through this. And now we're actually getting M's potentially developing. I might seriously take a real good look at a put option here. So if I do buy one, I'll be more than happy to let you know that I did, but no guarantees from the management. Anyway, interesting to see. Man, that sure looks nosebleedy. Stocks, we talked about this before, heading into this options expiry this week. There's a big open interest up top here. At about 4,000. The interesting thing is we looked at the VIX options in earnest, and I actually think that there's incentive for them to keep the market, the VIX, relatively well bid into Wednesday. Wednesday's their big options expiry. So if we actually look at the VIX itself, I think they actually knocked the cover off the ball, home run, if they can get the VIX to go out at about 25, 26 in here somewhere. So you can see VIX is pretty low right now. There's a lot of put options that are written in this area down in here. So I'm actually a bit surprised to see that as low as it is. Well, we'll see how that goes. By Wednesday, I would expect to see this thing back up in this 25, 26 area, fill in these gaps. Well, we'll see what happens. Should be a fun conversation to follow going forward. Let's see where we are. Don't really need to do any dashboard stuff with you guys here today. So, stocks relatively well bid. Still think, 4,000 strike. There's a huge open interest there. I think they really want to take it up into there. I was fascinated, and actually I did a bunch of reports, well, not a bunch, like tweets and sort of an analysis of the Canadian bond market today. And I'll tell you, if there was a case for a Fed bazooka to go off, this is exactly the scenario. So I think this was like 1 year anniversary of peak to trough. I think that there's going to be divergences now in momentum indicators developing on the market moving to new lows. And, this is kind of like the exact opposite of the crude market, where what I could see is, in my opinion, I think you could see this thing really just fall out of bed. But then that gives the Fed the reason to step in and bazooka away. So we'll see how this plays out. I'll tell you right now, anybody who owns a house or is subject to short-term fluctuations, refinancing of mortgages and stuff like that, holy bejesus, they are in for one hell of a shock. Now, I don't think it's so bad in the States, because in the States, that's when, 2008, that's when the shit hit the fan in the States with regard to the credit markets. Where it's going to hit the hardest this go round is, in my opinion, these commodity countries that didn't suffer from that 2008 financial crisis because they were in a commodity cycle and their real estate and stuff was still very well bid. But that's the Canadian interest rate market. Does it make sense? Anybody who went and bought a house, 30-year mortgage, it doesn't cost anything. Interest rates are really low. Well, that is not the case anymore. Anybody's going to go to the bank and have to refinance their mortgage now? The trap has been sprung. So, this was what killed Canada in 1981-82. I have a feeling it's what's going to kill Canada in 2021, 2022. We'll see how it goes, but I'll tell you, that's as about a well-defined head and shoulders top as you're going to get. It looks to me like, monstrous gap down here. It looks to me like they probably just want to fill in the gap. And, as I said earlier, if there ever was a case for a Fed bazooka to go off, right, because keep in mind, Canada, Euro, Australia, Japan, they're all based on this U.S. hegemony. So if Canada, Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Australia, probably a few Asian countries, if they're all pivoting off of what the Fed does, then ironically enough, this bond market will rally back if the Fed bazooka goes off in the U.S. bond market. That's just the way these markets work. And I wouldn't be surprised. If anything, this almost kind of looks like a massive fractal. I don't know whether you can see that or not. But what would cause these bonds to actually rally back up here, come, against this support line and then rally back up here to make our massive head and shoulders? Well, I think that this is actually, there's a guy on YouTube, I can't remember what his name is, but he calls himself the Bond King. And this is actually going to be his vindication window. And unfortunately, bonds usually only rally when the stock market is not very happy. Like, why did the bond market rally like this? Well, it's because the stock market fell by like 50%. So is this not maybe suggesting that we're probably near some sort of peak in equity and people are going to go run back into fixed income and get the hell out of risk? Keep in mind, I was showing, I think, on the public video yesterday. I don't know whether I did or not, but there's a guy, his name is Benner, and he wrote this forecast going out, and he wrote it back in 1820 or something like that, and he picked all of the major pivots of the market going out like 200 years into the future. And his big trough of our current cycle is 2023. Well, that would make sense for the bonds to rally in earnest, because basically when bonds rally, it means like economic Armageddon, right? This was economic Armageddon. What did your stock indexes do on this event? They went fucking tits up. So, I don't, it's 2021. So if we're kind of lucky, maybe, through COVID summer and shit like that, and I wouldn't be surprised if crypto has a fucking orgy here. through the summer, but I could very easily see once we're through this summer, then all the governments say, pay your goddamn taxes or we're going to throw you in jail. And, maybe they even raise taxes because they're so deeply underwater. I wouldn't be surprised if the Canadian real estate market just absolutely collapses. I could very easily see the exact same scenario, 2008 financial crisis. I could see exactly the same real estate disaster here in this country, Canada. I look out my window and I see at least 10 different, like these are 40, 50 story condo complexes going up. Who the fuck is going to buy any of these things? I mean, it's exactly the same thing as the U.S. Like go watch that Big Short. It's funny. They were talking about, CDOs and people taking out mortgages, and this stripper had 50 mortgages. It's like, what? It's the same thing here. They've obviously pre-sold all of these damn units. That's the only way they can get the funding. But who bought this shit? Some idiot shell company based in fucking Macau or something? And of course, it's all just a load of horseshit because none of these people tell you the truth. That's the scenario I see playing out here. I've said this for years. This has disaster written all over it. And now maybe finally, kind of like the Big Short kind of thing. I mean, until the market actually broke, nobody believed how bad the situation was. Then the market breaks and everybody goes, oh yeah, I guess the situation was pretty bad. Exact same scenario here in Canada, Canadians. Don't go and buy a goddamn mortgage right now. Neither a debtor nor a lender be. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. I wouldn't even be surprised if the government actually starts nationalizing bank accounts. It's that bad. They will, just kind of like Phoenix, right? They will give you Canadian dollar tokens in exchange for your dollars. And you just got to sit there like a bitch and just pray to God Phoenix doesn't go under. I can see exactly the same scenario here for these commodity countries. Exactly the same. Anyway, oh, geez, Brian's right back on the rant wagon. Rant. I think maybe I'll go buy some puts. Oh goodness, with my dirty oil profits, I'll take all that money, all the dirty oil profits, and I'll go short the Canada. That would be poetic. All right, moving on. Actually, one part of the market that's looking kind of interesting right now is gold, which of course is probably blasphemy coming out of Brian's mouth. The gold chart itself, man, I don't really see anything to get excited about here. It's interesting how we did, like about a week or two ago, I put this forecast on here. We didn't really puke out as much as I thought we were going to. Maybe we're going to M out here and there's another leg lower, who knows. But, if the bonds are close to that Fed bazooka and the stock market is maybe close to some sort of top, which just, and it starts breaking and that's why Fed bazookas have to come out, blah, blah, blah. Maybe gold can hang in there. Maybe it can do well. I did notice, there's no real buy signal here for me on this. So not much to do there. But I did notice, and I like to follow the gold stocks and the silver stocks ahead of time. As I think they, who's best to know the prospects for the future of the industry than the people that are in the business? It just makes common sense. So if we go look at big gold companies and silver, remember I'm a fan of these base metals. God damn you and your YVR. Look at that son of a bitch go. Kevin's going to get rich here, bastard. I can't believe I didn't get into this thing. How did I not get into this? Oh, Jesus. It's going to kill me. I even remember you talking about it, and I was told, yeah, YVR, that's the call letters for our airport. Oh, well, what can you do? Where was I? Gold and silver. Pay attention, Brian. Stay focused. There is our gold and silver. Actually, I'm really pleased to see this Lockheed Martin. I went and picked up some of this on the breakout here the other day, and I was like, ooh. But actually some really cool confluence of foggy levels against old breakout levels and resistance levels and trend lines. Man, I went at length. Actually, that reminds me, something I should show you guys. Yesterday, I actually asked, because I would like a timestamp just so that it's on record that, yep, Brian did this work and then, and, we can always go back and look in time at it. So I actually put a request out, and one of our site members, love him to death, went and actually made an NFT. Way to go. I won't say his name. I don't want to embarrass him. He's a pretty shy guy. But anyway, here he is. He created this OpenSea fucking bomb token in that image. Now it is permanently on the blockchain forever. And if you want, you can sit and listen to an endless stream of Brian. Fucking bomb! 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 And, honestly, I don't even care what happens to this thing. And the guy who built it, I said, dude, you keep the token. You keep it. It's your artwork. You put the effort in. And, I even said, maybe after I die or something like that, or maybe 100 years now. That's really what I would like is, we sit here and we study things like Wyckoff and Gann and, all the players from turn of the century 100 years ago. Maybe 100 years from now, people will stumble upon this. And they'll be talking about this crazy nut, Beamish, and how he would do 3-hour YouTube videos and rant on endlessly. Who knows? But the point here is I was so proud, I was so pleased that somebody actually took my request to heart and actually did it. So there you go. This Faugenbaum concept is now an NFT, and it is officially on the blockchain forever. I love it. Thank you, sir. You know who you are. Love you to pieces. And actually, he even built a whole page. So now I can just go and dump all my different things in here. And if I want to NFT them, I tell you, man, I love this community. These people, they treat me so well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You know who you are. So we got some cool foggy levels here. This is kind of cool, eh? Look how this foggy level here bumps up against the trend line. And then this foggy level also bumps into this foggy level, confluence, right? And really all it is just a rally up against value high and up against all these highs, which you probably see there's a bunch of trap bulls in here that would love nothing more than get the fuck out. And then finally, if we resolve through all of those, interesting foggy level up against this high, 877s off of these other foggy studies, 4669 there, and that just happens to be 88.6, and there's a gap there. So it's just stunning how this stuff works, and it's such a gift. Okay, so back to our original story. Wanted to take a real good look at these silver stocks. You can see this guy basically has hit his objective, so there's not really much for me to do there. This guy here, I got off a killer trade here. I might go and take a look at that again. It might be a bot. Maybe. Nothing really too exciting. And of course, pisses me off to no end that people like Warren Buffett, people, for some reason, I don't get it. Super public touts, horrible calls. Ironically enough, now is when his people should be coming out and saying, well, if you're thinking about joining us in this gold trade, we're now finally coming back down into a level where we can start seriously thinking about being buyers. Not up here. Jesus Christ. Never ends. And Warren Buffett, too. I mean, I thought that guy was kind of like, hey, follow me. I invest and I do really well. And I'm honorable, and I'm a good guy, and I'm a citizen, and all that kind of... No, same shit, different pile. So, I don't care if it's Warren Buffett coming out and saying, oh, I think this is good. Just follow this principle. Try and buy against bottom ends of ranges. Try and hunt reload zones. Try and buy below value. All that kind of fun stuff. And then at least you're not sitting here months later going, oh, fuck me. Anyway, who knows? Caveat emptor. I suppose there's plenty of ideas that I've had that have failed too, so I suppose maybe they're just genuinely wrong. Who knows? So I'm not overly impressed with the gold and the silver right now. I mean, maybe it's coming into zones. The area of the market that I love, of course, it just is a broken record now, are these junior miners. And man, we're making a ton of money out of these guys. I don't know why, but anyway, here's our runner du jour. Look at this guy. Woohoo! And I even did, like, on a video, I said, well, what do you think the odds are? And it's kind of funny. Do a Google search. How often do gaps get filled in? Pretty damn often. And kind of like that little oil stock, that I had to play with them a little bit. But in essence, my objective will be the gap level here. Basically around $1. I mean, now my hunch is the offer's 84 there. Look at I mean, you could drive a truck through that spread. There's nobody in this stock right now. So just be patient, discipline, look for this dollar area. My hunch is it's probably going to swim around there. And this is like a, gold and mining company. This is the hot part of the market right now. Why? I haven't got a fucking clue. But this is where the money is. And this is where the money's to be made, it seems. So, little ones. Actually, this little AMI, this is more of an aggregate play, but nonetheless, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some pops up top here, but nothing really to say or do there. Interesting. Lithium names have actually pulled back below recent bot entries, so if I actually get a half decent W here, I could go and join that trade. I didn't strap on this one because I don't know, I just didn't feel comfortable about it, but yeah, maybe if we get a nice turn here. Momentum's looking a little better. I think the reason why I didn't want to get into this is because I didn't like the look of this. It just, big M's and stuff, kind of. Ugh. So you can see Willie's nice and washed out. RSI's washed out. MACD, I would like to see a W there. Interesting, you can see OBV's trying to turn. There might actually be a half decent trade idea here. So if you are interested in lithium, keep an eye on him. I think I mentioned, yeah, I mean, it's just a mixed bag. It is interesting that commodities are getting well bid again, so. I don't know if there's any. I had a funny one. Just so you're aware, sometimes brokers can even fuck me up. Here is a great example of a stock. Well, it's a warrant, so maybe that's their excuse. But I actually put the order in to sell at $1.09 before market opened. And you can see the market opened up at 85, went zipping up, traded as high as $1.10. And then literally on that mark, you see on my broker statement, it says they entered the order in at 6:39. Market opens up at 6:30. So in essence, they waited 10 minutes before entering the order. Why the fuck did they do that? And notice, look how the market went up. Look how it traded to my level at 6:37. Traded above my level, 6:38. And then 6:39, for some reason, that's when they decided to put my order in. And the market just never came back. So that's not really a fault on mine. That's basically criminal behavior on the brokerage house. I've actually seen this broker do this 2 or 3 times in the past. But as somebody mentioned in the Daily Brief today, we live in a world where there's no professional accountability. None. I mean, the only way you could hold these cocksuckers to account is if you happen to be a big enough player and maybe you own a politician. This is almost back to like Jay Gould days. I used to tell people in the level 1 course about this stock operator back in the 19th century. And the only person that could hold him to account, he used to steal just ridiculous amounts of money from people. The only person that held him to account was a guy named Vanderbilt. And the only reason why? It's because Vanderbilt actually owned more powerful politicians than Gould. So he just sicked his more powerful politicians on Gould, and instantly Gould just gave him his money back. I have a funny feeling we're right back in that world again, folks. Terrible. I mean, that's borderline criminal behavior. If you actually found out that they actually front ran that trade, they knew my order was there, and they actually did the trade themselves, then that would be actually outright criminal. But, small fish in a big pond. I do make quite a bit of money at this game, so I'm not really going to bitch and complain too much. I mean, like anybody's going to listen anyway. And, sort of the coup de grace to all this. And this is why I think that they're not really too stressed about this trade is the stock itself came out with actually extremely bullish news. Oh, yeah, there's the chart. So remember, these are warrants, right? So the warrant exercise price is obviously up here. So the stock came out, I mean, just ridiculous gap higher. The news is basically they reinvented the wheel. So do I really need to be in a big hurry about bitching about a fill up top here? Not really. Also, too, keep in mind that this is on my our second or third double here. So I'm just playing with the market's money. But it is a good example. It's a really good example that there is lots and lots of market manipulation, poor professionalism, not acting in a fiduciary role, and really these companies, they just don't give a fuck. And I could jump up and down and pull my hair out, and they just don't care. For whatever it's worth, we bought this thing down here. I've already sold doubles. So the reason why my next order is up here is because I sold half on a double on this big pop up into 50. So I'm not really crying. It's an interesting anecdote of how brutally corrupt this system is, and how the 1%, the people that are running our society, they couldn't give a fuck about the small fish and actually doing their job. They just don't care. Which kind of sucks, but it is brutal reality. Get used to it. Probably half of the reason why you guys are so in love with crypto right now is you've had enough of this nonsense. Go to DeFi and completely disconnect from that old world. I don't blame you. I really don't. So as we kind of were going on there, junior stocks, some up, some down, kind of sideways. Not really a place for me to go, yep, junior stocks, this is the time to make a pile of money. No, actually it isn't. This is kind of after the fact. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's a nice healthy correction here. We talked about risk on, talked about risk off. Good old corn, as sort of a risk on proxy. I do find it fascinating that was a 1-year anniversary. I actually even put out a really cool tweet that I was quite impressed with. There were people on Twitter that were not, but so what? I don't care. This is the 1-year move from high to low. Then you'll notice that we consolidated for about 2 or 3 months, and then the correction started in earnest, and it went on for about 2 or 3 months. That's what I think could happen here very easily. I could very easily see a nice, sideways Bitcoin market for maybe the next, month or two. At any given point in time, we should expect 38.2 retracement. So, the consolidation could come all the way down here. I mean, that's totally possible. But this is kind of what I'm thinking for the next couple months. And then once, and this is interesting because the talk of late has been about COVID and getting the vaccines. And everybody getting stabbed. Uncle Joe, that's, I think, the only thing that's on his mind. But at the same time, too, I'm also hearing a lot of chatter about the economy is actually very strong. Usually when the Federal Reserve down in the United States lowers interest rates, it takes about 6 months for it to kick in. And they just literally lowered interest rates to nothing. So, our first 2-week study, sector rotation, said, this economy is strong. The commodities are leading the charge. Usually when they're leading the charge, that's top of the market cycle. This is strong. But that's not going to last forever. Then we'll have to go through the normal cycle. I get the impression that the Fed's actually taken a lot of heat politically over the rise in commodity prices and this perception that inflation has come back hard here. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually let risk come down here a bit to try and sort of relieve that that overbought condition and the perception of runaway inflation. Also, too, March, of course, is Japanese and also Canada, for example, fiscal year end. So there's a lot of government book squaring going on through this as well. But should we get on the other side of these last fiscal year ends? We get on the other side of everybody getting stabbed. We get on the other side of Uncle Joe saying, well, you know what? Better days are ahead. Could we see a period where maybe the Fed, the people that are sort of, supporting the market, kind of go, you know what? It's time to do a bit of belt tightening. I think so. Be interesting to see how DeFi and how the orgy in crypto goes. This window here actually is a pretty good rally window for things like altcoins and stuff like that. So I don't think it's like crash. I think it's kind of like Bitcoin goes sideways and altcoins have their fun little orgy window, through the spring, maybe early summer kind of idea. And once we start getting into latter part of summer, I would be very leery about getting too excited about anything risk-wise. We showed you January barometer said that heading into the fall, people were thinking that the market could break really hard. I showed you that image of Canadian interest rates. I think this Canadian real estate market has got disaster written all over it, and they don't call it the fall for nothing. If there was a time and a place for the commodity markets to break in earnest, I think it is this fall. Also, too, we shared with you that 200-year study, and that guy was looking for, 200 years ago, was looking for a cycle trough in 2023. I don't see any reason to argue that. It makes sense to me. So, there's your backdrop. The cool part about this, of course, is that, like I said earlier, usually when Bitcoin has a huge rally and then a sideways, we actually have a window where altcoins can actually do really well. And I see that. Like the shit perp index. Man, look at that damn thing. Stronger than hell. And a lot of these little coins that I like to follow, they're finally starting to wake up here. Look at this mbrosius. Woohoo! That's not a crypto bear market. I'll just say that as plain as day. That is not a crypto bear market. That is a strong asset. And this is the kind of recycling that I think is going to go on over the next probably 4 or 5 months here in crypto. Is a lot of these names are going to wake up off of their floors and they're going to rally. And you can go through the names. Look at this ONT. Hopefully you guys have been following along with me. Are there any letters of the alphabet that maybe are trying to come in here? And look at, has this thing got any room to move up at all? This is just this chart here. Could we rally back into this window? Sure. And that's what I think is going to happen here over the next 4 or 5 months, is all of these names are all going to start perking back up again. Probably Decentraland is a perfect analogy. This is Atari is going to come in and start doing business with them. That is not a crypto bear market. That's a crypto bull market. Does it take maybe 3 or 4 months for these assets to all get bid up? Everybody's loaded up, tits deep, heading out of the summer 2022, and the Fed says, all right, it's officially time for us to shit on this whole stablecoin nonsense. It would make sense to me. Maxine Waters, she doesn't like stablecoins. And it's interesting, a gentleman, TRICTO, Fjord, comes on the calls on Mondays. And he was telling us about his little Luna coin. It's just going absolutely insane here. And I think it's going a hell of a lot higher. It's got one of these stable coins. And the whole reason why the Luna is going higher is this stable coin just keeps seeing more and more and more money pour into it. It's very popular to get these damn stable coins up and running. But we know that at some point down the road, the U.S. government has said that they are going to address this stable coin issue. So is that maybe the basis for the next sort of top in crypto? Could be. might have absolutely nothing to do with Bitcoin. And keep in mind, I would argue that that last market cycle top and then the year and a half trough there that we had to see, that had nothing to do with Bitcoin. It had everything to do with BitConnect, right? And all that kind of nonsense. And, for whatever it's worth, Mr. P.T. Barnum himself is back out on Twitter touting Doge again. So, this is nothing really for a guy like me to do here. But, he's pumping this thing. And, through that summer silly orgy nonsense, I could see them ramp this thing up to $1. I could see it happen. But as I said, once we get beyond this summer rally window, oh my God, be darn careful here, folks. Okay, I think I'm done my rant here for today. That was pretty long, sorry. But hey, 3 hours yesterday, why not another fucking hour today, eh? Oh God. I don't stop talking until I think I'm done. So I feel like I'm done, so I'm out of here. Have yourself